Drew, we're back with more Planet Zoo!
All right, Scott, we are back with more Planet Zoo. We jumped in. It is now out of beta, pre-release stuff. We're into the full version. Jumping back in, what'd you think?
So just a refresher on this game, it's a very big tycoon kind of game, and it has a lot of details to it, but they weren't exactly shown to us in the beta form of the game. So we had a chance to jump in, we kind of played some of the different modes, we saw how it worked out, and now it's like they've added the complication to it. They've kind of flushed out all these systems that they were working on, and it's a little overwhelming for me.
It was very overwhelming, to be honest. I jumped into the campaign, did a couple of tutorials there, which I thought and felt it was a lot better explained this time around versus when we were in with the beta. I kind of had a better understanding and direction of where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to apply the tasks and things that they were giving me and telling me to do. So it was easier to work around that, but then once you're kind of out building your zoo, man,
it gets hard. You almost need a handhold mode for a little while, a kind of half tutorial step to get you fully on your own, because I felt like I was a zoo manager day one on my new job and I had no idea what I was doing. So even though we went through the tutorials, which I thought were pretty well crafted, and they had characters and stuff, they made it interesting.
Bernie's voice was different. Did you notice that? They redid the VO for Bernie, which I thought was kind of weird because I kind of liked them better before, I think.
But they've also added more of a tutorial to the franchisee mode.
Yeah.
So if you go into the franchisee mode now, it has a hint and options like a help taskbar that pops up, and it'll tell you kind of how to do certain things, and that was exactly what was missing from the first look. I believe it was you that jumped into the franchise mode the first time, got very lost because there's no direction, and it was just kind of a brick wall. I jumped in this time into franchise mode straight away, and it was a little more intuitive. They had at least that little option where I could pause the game, take a look at how to do the actual thing. How do I actually get an animal into my zoo? Because I had forgotten from the first time. It's a little complicated. There's a lot of steps to it. So,
well, that's the problem, is that I feel it's too complicated. So remember the old days, you would build a path and then you just drop an aquarium down, or you drop a little section for any animal to go into. Now it is, you have to go in, put your path down. Okay, I was just tutorial only, all right? I'm over at the lemurs, and I'm asked to then put up a sign and a speaker.
Oh yeah.
Which should seem pretty simple. So I had to then get into where the sign was, put the sign on in front of the area for the lemurs, but then I had to go into the menu for the sign to select the lemurs
and choose the actual education program.
Exactly. But then I had to then attach the speaker to the top of this pole, but I can't have the speaker too close to another speaker because then they'll clash with each other.
No, that's what was happening.
That speaker then has to be powered. I'm like, man, am I doing like a city builder too?
Yeah, because so they have, there's layers to the construction. You have to consider the walls, the edges of the walls. Is it climbable? Is it not?
Yes.
Is it a large enclosure? Or is it a small exhibit? Do these exhibits need heat or cooling? That's another consideration. So there's a lot to take in. Even if you just pick a spot, say you want to have a zoo out in the North American plains like we expect, you have to take little pieces of information from every animal you intend to have and make sure that you have everything set up. Otherwise, these animals will get sad and eventually they pass on.
I feel like I almost have to go and do real world research to play this game, to build the stuff I need to so my animals don't get sick or they don't get, or they die or something.
So the sickness of the animals, the conditioning of the animals is so complicated.
Oh my God.
So the temperature is one thing, you get the habitat and its contents is another, and then you compare them with other animals and that'll bring in the social anxieties or uplift them. They can reproduce, you can add contraceptives so you can stop them from doing that. There's a whole breeding section. It gets so complicated that there's such a depth to the game, but trying to jump in and pick up where we left off, I feel a little lost.
I appreciate the depth that they've had in the game. It's there if you want to really kind of go that deep, but I wish they had another mode, but just a little easier. That didn't have to worry about your animal gets sick, you then have to call the vet, bring the vet in, box up your animal, and then bring them over to the veterinarian
quarantine.
Yeah, and then bring them in, have them do surgery or whatever they need to do at the time, and then you got to box them back up and bring it back out. It's just like, but I just want to build a zoo.
The micromanaging is intense. You have to have all these caretakers for the zoo and enough of them to service the animals. Otherwise,
it's too much.
They look bad and they're not happy, and then the guests aren't happy, and then you start losing money. And this franchise mode just gets quickly out of hand very, very badly. For the casual experience, there is this kind of sandbox mode that you can tweak the rules to, but it doesn't do a good job of explaining that, or that that's available to you as well. So even if you do get in there and have this fun time where you can take away animal deaths and things like that, you can grow this zoo, but I can never visit you.
Which is a little disappointing, because when you build this franchise, this big massive place of a zoo that you want people to go and visit, you want to see what you've created and be able to share that experience.
And the whole fact that I could see you on the map as a franchise owner as well, we're on a friends list, so it seems like there's this social fabric there.
We can trade animals, but that's about the extent of it.
It's not as direct as just hopping into your zoo and checking it out like I wish it was.
Yeah. Overall, Scott, jumping back into Planet Zoo, I think the game is gorgeous. It is there for those who like to micromanage to that level of detail. And the fact that you can go into your setup, and if you want to add just one board, 2 boards, make whatever you want in your own experience, it kind of helps bring something that just really isn't out there for others. I'm feeling a little still overwhelmed with the experience of the game. It is there if you have hours, and this is kind of your only game to play, but if you're looking for that casual experience to jump in and play, I really don't think that this is the game.
No, it's hard. I can't recommend this for that kind of a player that wants to just have a fun time with the animals. It's really not quite that kind of a game. It's more of a massive managing experience.
Big time. Planet Zoo, what are you scoring this one?
This one's a complicated one because I am excited about all the details, but it's a little bit too much for me. I know it's there for the connoisseur, but as somebody who's a little more casual, has a little bit less time to put into one game like this, it's a hard experience for me to get into personally. So I have to give my score as a 7 out of 10.
Not bad at all. So I think Planet Zoo is there for a lot of people, but again, coming for us who are kind of more on that casual experience, it's not really ours. I'm there with the 7 as well.
Planet Zoo is a massive tycoon game that has no rival in terms of depth and micromanagement. A beautiful game, but ultimately overwhelming for casual players that might want a quick experience.
Subscribe to never miss a video, and help us by hitting that like button.